The economy isn't broken, it's rigged. They win while we lose. Before we get started, if I could please ask you to subscribe, and remember to click the notification bell to stay informed on the many ways it's rigged and the changes required to ensure we don't continue to get played while they get paid. I thank you in advance. Now let's get started. Grocery prices. Shrinkflation isn't a trick, it's a business model. You're not going crazy. Your groceries really are getting smaller. Your chips bags have more air. Your cereal boxes have more cardboard. Your toilet paper has fewer sheets. And yet you're paying the same or more for all of it. This didn't happen because companies are powerless victims of inflation. It happened because shareholders expect returns, and consumers tolerate quiet theft better than visible price increases. Shrinkflation isn't subtle, it's structural. What shrinkflation is and isn't. Shrinkflation is simple on paper. Reduce quantity. Keep price. Maintain or expand margins. But here's what it actually reflects. Pricing power, consumer psychology, cost engineering, supply chain math, inflation optics, and shareholder pressure. Companies know you'll notice a price jump, but they bet you won't notice 3 fewer ounces. And they're right. Why companies choose shrinkflation? There are 3 main incentives. Incentive 1, consumer behavior. People track price, not volume. Our brains are bad at math in the aisle. Businesses exploit that. Incentive 2, competitive camouflage. If brand A raises prices visibly, brand B can swoop in. Shrinkflation makes the change invisible and industry-wide. Incentive 3, margin preservation. Input costs rise. Shareholders demand profit. Executives deliver margin by reducing what you get, not by earning less. This isn't mismanagement, it's competence. Why doesn't government stop it? Because shrinkflation isn't technically fraud. Fraud requires deception. Shrinkflation requires fine print. As long as the net weight is printed on the box, companies are in compliance. You're not being protected, you're being informed, just not in a way you'll notice. It's only getting worse. 3 macro trends are accelerating shrinkflation. Trend number 1, post-inflation price stickiness. Prices almost never revert after inflation cools. Shrinkflation fills the gap to maintain margin. Trend number 2, consolidation. Fewer competitors, less fear of customer backlash. Trend number 3, consumer desperation. When budgets are tight, brand switching rises, but companies can shrink faster than consumers can switch. This is efficiency, not chaos. The final blow. Shrinkflation isn't a symptom of a broken system. It's the symptom of a system functioning exactly as intended. Minimum transparency, maximum profit, zero accountability, no real alternatives, consumers with no bargaining power. Shrinkflation works because the incentives are aligned, and when incentives align, outcomes aren't accidents, they're inevitable. Why companies choose shrinkflation? There are 3 main incentives. Incentive 1, consumer behavior. People track price, not volume. Our brains are bad at math in the aisle. Businesses exploit that. Incentive 2, competitive camouflage. If brand A raises prices visibly, brand B can swoop in. Shrinkflation makes the change invisible and industry-wide. Incentive 3, margin preservation. Input costs rise. Shareholders demand profit. Executives deliver margin by reducing what you get, not by earning less. This isn't mismanagement, it's competence. What products shrink first? Shrinkflation loves products that are boxed, bagged, multiples, portioned, opaque, compressed. Some examples of those products are chips, cereal, crackers, soap bars, toilet paper, cookies, candy, yogurt, frozen meals, cleaning products. The more packaging, the easier the hiding. Why it takes years for people to catch on? Because companies don't shrink once, they shrink incrementally. Your cereal didn't go from 20 ounces to 11. It went 20 ounces to 18 to 16 to 15.5 to 14.8 to 14. At each step, the price holds, but the margins grow. And all you remember is, cereal used to last longer. Who wins and who loses? Losers are the consumers. Wage earners, families on budgets, people on fixed income, and households with kids, the high-volume consumers. Winners are corporations with brand power, packaging companies, commodity traders, shareholders, and retailers who take a cut on volume. Even logistics companies benefit when goods become lighter to ship. Nothing about this is accidental. Now let's ask the question most creators avoid because it doesn't deliver easy outrage. What would it actually take to change this system? Because shrinkflation isn't random. It's rooted in incentives that line up with corporate goals, pricing power, and how everyday markets are structured. So if you want real change, you have to rethink incentives, not feelings. First, regulation. Not symbolic laws, actual rules that force transparency. Imagine if every package had to show how much it's shrunk over the last year, not just the net weight. Right now, legally, a company can reduce quantity over time as long as the tiny legal weight appears in small print. That's not a flaw. That's how the rules are written. No forced unit pricing, no mandated visibility, just buried math. That's why it persists. Second, competition. Everyone likes to talk about competition, but the grocery aisle is one of the least competitive markets in America. The top chains dominate shelf space, logistics, and pricing power. Independent brands rarely have the cost leverage to undercut big incumbents. If a small brand tried saying, same product, bigger portion, same price, they'd lose shelf space before enough people noticed. That's not a conspiracy, it's structural leverage. Third, consumer power. But here's the reality check. The typical American family already spends huge sums on groceries each year. In 2025, the average family ended up paying about $310 more than the year before just to fill the same cart. Even when overall inflation is slowing, grocery bills still feel like a punch in the stomach. Food at home prices rose around 2.4% last year, and specific staples like beef and coffee are up far more. But survival isn't activism, it's necessity. When people are choosing between rent, medicine, and groceries, rejecting a brand isn't a viable boycott strategy. That's not apathy, that's being stuck between a rock and a hard place. Fourth, transparency. The most underutilized force for change. Right now, grocery prices have been rising in fits and starts, but the CPI data shows food prices rose faster than many other categories, even as headline inflation cooled, and consumers feel it. Surveys show that a majority of shoppers have noticed packaging shrinking without price drops, a direct experience of shrinkflation. Imagine this instead. Every store must display not just shelf price, but unit price changes year over year right at eye level. Suddenly, shrinkflation isn't invisible math, it's visible numbers. Companies don't fear cost increases. They fear consumer clarity. Transparency is not just a tool, it's leverage. So what will truly change shrinkflation? Not outrage on socials, not nostalgia for lower prices, not TikTok complaints. Real transformation requires regulatory clarity, forcing companies to show what's happening, structural competition, creating real choices on price and quantity, consumer transparency. So shrinkflation isn't hidden math. Market incentives that reward fairness, not concealment. These aren't quick fixes. They're fundamental rewrites of how markets signal value. Until that happens, expect shrinkflation to remain popular with producers because it hides price hikes, it keeps shelf prices stable, it maximizes profit, and it exploits the fact that consumers rarely see unit cost over time. That's not crash, that's function. The system isn't broken. It's just working for someone else. Information is power. The more we understand how they are getting paid while we get played, the better equipped we will be to demand changes to the system. If I could ask you again to please subscribe and click the bell icon to stay informed on the different ways the economy is rigged. Hope to see you at the next video.